Let's look at number 4. Number 4 states, what is the velocity of a ladybug traveling 8 inches per second north on a piece of paper that is being pulled to the east at 3 inches per second, while a wagon creeping west at 12 inches per second from the perspective of a child playing in a sandbox nearby? Okay. They want to know what is the velocity of the ladybug compared to a sandbox. So L is ladybug, S is sandbox. Well, the first velocity they give us is the velocity of the ladybug compared to the paper. And that's 8 inches per second in the north direction. Sure, I drew a little arrow there. Then they gave us the velocity of the paper compared to the wagon, because the paper is being pulled in the wagon itself. And that's 3 inches per second in the east direction. So I drew a little arrow there. And then we have the velocity of the wagon compared to the sandbox, and that was 12 inches per second in the west direction. So I drew an arrow there. You cannot necessarily add these two together right away. You can see this is going to be one leg of the triangle, and when you combine these two, it's going to be the other leg of the triangle. Again, the only way you learn how to do these problems is through experience, so I'm planning to give you several of these in the next few days. So let's look at velocity in the x direction. Again, if the velocities are in the x and y direction, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find out what the resultant vector is. So the velocity in the x direction is equal to the velocity of a ladybug to the paper in the x direction. Velocity of ladybug compared to the paper. Is there anything in the x direction? No, it's all in the north-south direction. So this is just 0. What is the velocity of the paper compared to the wagon? It's 3 inches per second, so we're going to put 3 inches per second. Plus, we have it in the west direction, so let's choose that to be negative 12 inches per second. So plus negative 12 inches per second, we have negative 9 inches per second. That is what our resultant velocity in the x direction will look like. The y direction is a little bit easier. What is the velocity of the ladybug compared to the paper in the y direction? It's 8 inches per second. What is the velocity of the paper compared to the wagon in the y direction? There is none. It's just in the east. What is the velocity of the wagon compared to, or from the perspective of the sandbox? It's west. It's negative 12. So it has no north-south component. So we just write this as 8 inches per second. So these are the two legs of our triangle. So we have in the x direction negative 9 inches per second. And in the y direction we have 8 inches per second. So we're going to connect the dots here. That's our resultant vector. And our resultant vector is, if you use the Pythagorean theorem, we have 12.04 inches per second. And this is in the 48-degree range. At 48 degrees, I say